Ever since I was a child, I was obsessed with cryptids. From Sasquatch, skinwalkers, and werewolves to cryptid tales that can be explained simply by mental illness or mass hysteria, I adored them all. But every story I read left me wanting more of the same type of story. I just felt like reading about them wasn't enough, and with no access to woodlands and forests, I felt stuck. It felt so strange, like I had invented this world full of scary monsters and trapped myself in it. I had enough one day and I started writing. It started simple with the classic. I was walking in the dark gloom of night when suddenly it all happened. That's how most of my stories went anyways. So as you can imagine, being the hyperactive child I was, I got bored of that quick. I moved on to new formats. This time you were the monster. That time you created the monster. That time you were trapped. But none of those story formats felt right. It felt like the feeling of the cryptids all over again. Every story I wrote got more and more creative, but they all felt fake to me. My stories were never intended to be realistic, just meant to scare you. I wrote I wrote my little heart out to the point where I lost track of the stories. That's when I lost track of everything. I mean it when I say everything. Every day felt the same. All food tasted bland and all my friends were annoying. But deep down I knew there was hope. Hope that one day I would achieve perfection in my writing. But how can I, a small weak human, achieve perfection? I didn't care how as long I got there. But then I started to realize that I wrote a story where someone loses their sanity trying to achieve perfection, so I gave up. Then I remembered I wrote a story where giving up resulted in death. So what was I to do? All my stories were coming back to me like a kitten to its mum. No matter what decision I made. The outcome would be something I predicted. A horror story I wrote myself into. I was trapped. The houseless people have showed up at my house the past 3 days with weird requests. Somehow they had my address for something specific, but have been very unclear from where and what they want when asked. This is very out of the norm for my house. BTW. It all started when a few days ago, my roommate 27M was leaving the house late at night. Around 10:30 p.m., he saw a very strange person outside on our driveway. They talked briefly and the weird man asked questions like, how many people live here? How many people are home? And weirdest of all, how many people are home that don't live here? He told us that he had been to our place before and needed to come inside. He was very adamant about it and said he could come in because where he's from, if you have stayed somewhere, you can come and go when you please. Then he claimed he left something like a coin or USB in one of the rooms under the carpet. Very strange, and kept changing his story. My roommate obviously said no, but this man would not leave our porch, even after we closed and locked the door. We called the police, who ended up being entirely useless. Eventually, he left for a little bit and my same roommate drove to see if he could find him. He found this MF crawling around the neighborhood on all fours. About 30 minutes later, we heard him moaning while coming closer to the house. Suddenly, while looking out the window, we see this man slowly crawl out of our neighbor's yard, into our driveway and onto our porch. He literally looked like them Thing Grudge horror movie shit. This man wouldn't leave for about an hour. He was also yelling and knocking for a long time. He left a weird package outside our door, and eventually left right before the cops came. Of course, 2 hours after we called, the package was an open box of our neighbor from 4 blocks down mail. This was terrifying, obviously, but none of us in the house. There are 5 of us expected another man to show up asking weird things only 3 days later. Literally last night, another houseless man came knocking on our door at 11 p.m. He asked my roommate, who nervously cracked the door, if this was the computer house. No idea what that means, and said he got our address from Venmo. WTF. He was much tamer, but this doesn't feel like a coincidence, given nothing like this has happened in the 3 years I've lived at this house. Apparently before we lived here, the house used to be a bit of a trap house, where people would come and do drugs all the time. However, nothing like this at all has happened in the past 3 years I've lived here. I have no idea why this is happening now. Could my address be leaked on the dark web? Are people coming here for drugs? Are we being harassed and someone is paying PPL on Venmo to come here? I actually genuinely need help with this. It's making my home of 3 years a scary place to live. Any advice is so appreciated. Last night I went to pick up a pizza order with my friend. We arrive at the pizza place and my friend tells me he'll go in and get it and I can just stay here since it'll be like 2 seconds. I agree and my friend leaves the car. It's dark out but I'm not afraid. I start singing tunes and practicing my Bobby voice from King of the Hill. Don't judge me. Anyway, I'm looking around, mainly making sure no one walks up to the car. I notice next to our parked car is a black truck. I think nothing of it and then notice in the back seat I can see a white shirt or jacket hanging over the back seat. I again think nothing of it. But then things take a turn. I assume it was just my eyes adjusting to looking out into the dark. But I start to notice that that's not a shirt or jacket. It kinda looks like a face. But it's clearly not a human face. I can make out a little beady black eyes. And the very pale white facial structure. With no visible mouth. I'm not scared at this point cause I know it's October and assume it's just a Halloween mask the truck owner bought and hung over the back seat. It's just a total coincidence it's staring right at me. But then it slowly starts moving towards me, like slowly inching closer to the window, closer to me. At this point I start to panic a little for a couple reasons. 1, one can't see the body and by how this looks, I can deduce this isn't a human wearing a mask. 2, whatever this is, it's no animal or human I've seen and it's decent sized. 3, it's a master at being incredibly still and not moving up until it started inching towards me. 4, it's not blinking and it's staring at me like I'm prime rib. So I won't lie, I got scared. Not full blown, I'm gonna have a panic attack, but more like finding a snake in your yard by your foot, or seeing a bear pop his head out of the woods and look at you in the distance. So I'm getting closer and closer to opening the door and running inside the pizza place with my friend when I see to floppy ears ... It was a dog. I now realize what the dog was doing and why he was moving like that. If you don't know, some dogs, including my own, when they see a new person from a distance they freeze and remain as still as a statue. They then don't blink and slowly inching closer towards the person. Typically hunting or retrieving dogs do it, but I've seen it from other dogs. It also probably didn't help that literally right before I left to get the pizza, I was looking at folklore monsters such as skinwalkers on my phone. LOL.